Hey guys, this is Sumukh here, and along with me, I have my friend Supreet as well as Swapnil. All three of us are engineering students who basically suck at engineering, and Swapnil also has his YouTube channel. And for those of you who don't know, I work for TechPP. Links to both of them will be in the description below. So we just got together and thought, why not just put out a random podcast? And we want to make this a regular thing. So if you're even a little bit into technology and just food and random stuff, then you should probably follow the podcast and we'll try to make sure that we upload regularly. In the first episode today, we thought all three of us would discuss about some generic tech stuff. Also, I would request both of you to please introduce yourself. Maybe Supreet, go ahead first.
Hello everyone, I'm Supreet. As Sumukh mentioned, I'm an engineering student as well. So we were really bored during the lockdown, so we thought why not just start a podcast.
So hello everyone. As you already know, my name is Swapnil and I'm an engineering student. Well, almost graduate. I am Sumukh, and this is a good time to start a podcast. Everyone is getting bored at home, and we thought this would be a great idea. So yeah.
Cool. So let's begin with the most cliched and generic question that every tech enthusiast gets, and that is, what was your first smartphone and why did you get it? So let's begin with Swapnil.
Yeah, so my first smartphone was the Samsung Galaxy S Duos. So I got it back in 2012. I think in the month of December, if I'm not wrong.
I think that was when
So
Samsung was totally dominating the
yeah, they had
segment.
the Samsung Galaxy Grand, the Galaxy S3 was there, and this Duos came along. Like all these three phones were ruling the market,
Yeah,
like
hugely
basically in different
popular.
segments. Yeah.
Right.
And back then, I think we didn't have phones like how we have today, like under 15K and under 20K, as in the phones with high, good specifications. Those things were
Right.
not
So
there at that time.
basically, there were no Chinese brands.
Yeah, basically. I think Samsung was there. Then the other player was Micromax. I think even you were in a similar situation.
Of
You were
course.
confused between the Micromax Canvas. What was it
Right.
name? What was the name
So
of that
yeah,
one? The 5-inch
uh,
phone with the
A
generic
Canvas 2.
MediaTek processor.
Canvas 2.
Yeah,
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 Canvas 2
Canvas.
was a huge deal.
Yeah, so I was confused between the two, and I ended up with the S Duos because my mom thought it's a better brand. So right.
Fair enough. So how did that phone fare throughout your usage?
Well, for the first few months, there was this honeymoon period because a 4-inch screen, it's a big screen, and all those things. But later on, I eventually realized that Samsung in the budget and mid-range segment wasn't really that good at that time because of the software. Like we all know
Oh yeah,
TouchWiz and how laggy it used to be.
yeah,
So
totally terrible. I mean, it's come such a long way from those touches days to the One UI that we are at right now. Right?
yeah,
It's like night
definitely.
and day difference.
Yeah, easily.
What about you, Supreet? What was your first smartphone?
Well, does an iPod Touch count?
Yeah, maybe. I
Yeah.
mean, that was
Maybe
probably better
because
than any of our first smartphones.
as I well, it did all things a smartphone could do except for the calling part. Well,
Right.
talking about the choice, I didn't have a lot of choice. It was a gift, from one of my cousin brothers. So that was my first introduction to any handheld tech in my life, and that was such a good piece of tech, that was designed beautifully. It was around 7 thick. I was just blown away by how thin it was. And come on,
True.
it was just the iOS ecosystem, what people said,
Yeah.
that felt so good. It came with the latest the specifications during that time, around 2012. It released with the iPhone 5 actually. So that
Right.
was really powerful. It held up well for around, I mean, it's still working now, but then there's no software support from Apple. But it was just a fantastic piece of tech. It could do everything. The camera was so good. Could beat probably any budget Android phone that was launched during those days, like the Moto G or any of the
Yeah. Yeah.
smartphones that were there, because it was on par with the latest Apple devices, which was the iPhone 5. So that was my first experience, having a phone. I don't know if it actually counts as one. So
I'm
that's
pretty sure the the iPod Touch still works smooth
it.
even till date,
It
right?
works, it works fine. It works fine. Although the app support has been reduced, a lot of latest apps
Right.
aren't supported by iOS 10, which was the the last update provided by Apple. Other than that,
Right.
it runs fine. I mean, you can. Look, I also use an iPhone 5, at some time. So that is basically similar to the iPod Touch. So it does work fine. If you want to make a few calls or just send messages to someone. That's
Right. Especially given that you would still get iMessage and FaceTime, etc. So you
yeah,
can actually call people who have an iPhone.
yeah, you
Yeah,
can do
those
anything.
are
Yeah.
things that I think Apple does really well.
And the longevity as well. I mean, it's been around like what 8 years, and it holds up
Yeah.
so well, given
I
the
don't
interest.
think I don't think any Android device would even stay
Uh,
relevant today. So, for
mm,
example, if you consider Swapnil's S Duos,
no,
I doubt you would even be able to navigate to the Play Store to install an app.
that would
Well,
be
that would take 5 minutes. That would take 5 minutes.
that would take
That's
a
the
long time.
kind. Yeah. So, well, my smartphone again, what Swapnil was referring to, Samsung and Micromax were the primary rulers of the market back then. So I got a Micromax A60, which was incidentally a rebranded phone from ZTE because that's what Micromax did.
That was a trend
Uh,
of
yeah. So I don't know if Revolt motorcycles are still doing that now that Rahul Sharma is there. But
And I actually
yeah,
heard. I actually heard. There's actually bikes from China. I'll check.
yeah. Yeah, that's kind of sad to hear. But I mean, cutting some slack to Micromax because I feel they were the only brand back then who actually made good, decent, affordable phones. Not
well,
everyone could. I think at that time, even 12 to 15,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees is a huge amount of money to spend on a phone,
exactly.
right? I
That's
mean,
a lot.
when you were getting flagships for like around 30,000. So I think in that situation, Micromax did manage to sell phones for 6, 7, 8,000, 10,000 rupees, which I think was a nice.
Yeah, it was the first experience,
Yeah,
that everybody wanted. So using
right,
screen
exactly.
phone and an Android, operating system.
True,
It was the first thing that
true,
everyone wanted to do.
true. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So
So
speaking
And the
about
phones were
Microsoft,
actually, yeah,
go ahead.
and the phones were actually quite good back then. Even
Yeah,
in
exactly.
2012 and 13, their phones were actually quite good. Yeah.
True. That's right.
quite good actually. I mean, it held up well. At least it gave
Yeah.
what they promised to give. The first basic, smartphone experience was quite
Right.
good actually.
Also, I think if you speak about Micromax, there are two things that clearly come to my mind. One is the U Televentures subsidiary of theirs, and their partnership with Google for the Android One program, which basically was the Micromax Canvas A1. So let's just talk about U a little bit because Supreet had a U Eureka Plus, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was honestly a very interesting spin-off because the biggest selling point of that would have been the Cyanogen mod, which is a huge thing back then because Micromax phones are known for their MediaTek chips and lack of custom ROM support, and they suddenly one day announced the U Eureka with a Snapdragon 615 and Cyanogen mod, and in fact they even took on OnePlus with the OnePlus One. I mean, if you remember, OnePlus had the rights to sell phones in India with Cyanogen OS, and Micromax actually filed a suit against OnePlus, and they claimed that they had these individual rights. So, what do you think of U Televentures, and do you think it should have still survived now in 2020?
Well, I mean, like it was a set of obvious mistakes which they made. I mean, the first U phone was good. The U Eureka was good. I didn't have a U Eureka actually. I had a U Eureka Plus. Although I did use a Eureka during that time, it was very good actually. The design was good, although it was a rebranded phone after all. But
Yeah.
the software was good as well. But then the only problem with the Eureka Plus was that they had the same internals but for a 1080p display, and the processor wasn't
Right.
optimized at all.
And of course, we all know the dismal performance of
Yeah,
the Snapdragon 615.
the performance was good, provided you had a good version of your operating system, it was quite good. But then the battery life was horrendous, and then the
Yeah, the thermal issues. I
yeah,
think 615 was arguably the worst mistake by Qualcomm till date.
yeah, and then there was zero software support, from the side of you.
Right.
And then when their CyanogenMod deal got messed up, they started shipping smartphones with KitKat. No one expected that to happen.
Yeah,
I bought the Eureka Plus. I turned it on, and then I suddenly find out that there's KitKat. Expecting to have a CyanogenMod version of it.
right.
But then it did hold up well for around 2 years of usage. Although I did end up using a lot of custom ROMs. Battery life very bad, but then it did end up working fine for around 2 years until it just randomly died one day. That was it when I actually.
Pretty sad story. I remember that. So, Swapnil, what do you think? You think you could have given good competition to, like, let's say Redmi or Realme if it existed now in 2020?
I think their last good product, at least the one in which they had invested some PR and they had this media thing, was the Utopia, right? The one with the Snapdragon 820, 810, I think.
810. Yeah, that was.
810.
See, that was. So I think somewhere Eureka was also very unlucky because the mid-range chip they opted for was terrible. The flagship chip that they opted for was even worse.
Yeah.
So I think, Utopia would. I mean, but I think even that was plagued with multiple issues. I remember watching our Sharma J Technicals video. Wherein he basically unlocks the phone with an unregistered fingerprint. Multiple issues like that plague that device.
The problem was we threw in specs, to make sure just people get amazed by the specification sheet and then end up buying. I don't think it works like that. I mean, you have to work around effort into it, not just throw 4 GB RAM and then put the best processor that was available. It never works like
that. Right, but looking at Realme and Redmi now, the way they've progressed, Realme especially as a brand, I mean, you see how they've grown ever since their start here in India. So you think even if you or Micromax was still relevant in the Indian market, they could have competed against these brands?
Well, I mean, Micromax, like during the initial days, it was good. The Canvas 2 was good, and a couple of other phones were good as well. But then it all comes down to the user experience. I mean, if you pick up an MI phone today, even if you pick up their the phone in their lowest end, which is the Redmi series, you pick up the Redmi 8, it will perform really well. I mean, you can play your PUBG, you can play whatever intensive games. Although you can't play it at the full, highest level of graphics possible, but then it will work. I mean, it will give you a good user experience. The service of MI has been fantastic. I mean, I've experienced it many times. Although in my case it has been very good. And I don't really know a lot about Realme because I haven't used any Realme product. But then, obviously, if they are popular today, I think it's because of the user experience that they offer at the price. I think that then it all comes down to the user experience.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So Swapnil, if you had to pick a phone which is either a Redmi or a Realme, which one would you pick and why? For the same price. Let's say we had the same price and you had phones of both Redmi and Realme at the same price. Which one would you opt for? Let's also say that both phones have the exact same specifications, ditto specifications, but of course they're proprietary. So Redmi runs on MIUI, Realme runs on Realme UI, and all those things. So given the specifications are the same, which one would you pick and why?
Well, looking at the adware situation,
right? That's pretty sad.
I would rather buy an M31 or something.
Okay, so you would say you would totally refuse buying a Redmi or a Realme and pick up a Samsung.
Well, basically I haven't used a Realme phone as such. On the only limited time I've had it with you.
Right.
So,
right.
So I'm not very sure about Realme per se. So I don't
Mhm.
think. Probably in that case, I would go with Redmi because I've used MIUI and I think MIUI is actually quite good. At least they
Right.
provide
So,
regular updates. I'm not sure about Realme how they do in updates, but Redmi they
mm,
actually do provide constant updates and they keep on improving the experience. So in that case,
so
probably I would go
what's
for
your
Redmi. Yeah.
right? So what's your overall view about MIUI if you remove the ads? So, for example, I give you a phone with a complete bare stock Android, and I give you a phone with MIUI. Which one would you pick?
Well, probably the one with the stock Android.
Okay. What about you, Suprit? I know your answer. You're gonna pick the
It's
stock Android as well.
stock
Yeah.
Android. It's
So
the
I have a slightly different take. Because I feel stock Android by itself is very bare. If you consider something like Oxygen OS, which is a derivative of stock Android. I mean, it still looks like stock, but you get a lot of features. I feel that is something different. But MIUI offers a lot of useful features, in my opinion, that stock Android doesn't. For example, you get inbuilt call recording, you get scrolling screenshots,
yeah,
you get dual apps.
that's one thing that's really missing in
Yeah, so
Android, the scrolling.
right. I think that's one thing Google really needs to work on. I think they need to bring in more features into stock
Yeah.
Android so that even custom skins get lighter, because if you include something as a default Android feature, then custom US don't need to work on that separately to integrate, along with their UI.
Yeah, but then
That's all.
MIUI is a close second because the
Mhm.
way it was back then on phones like the first the Redmi Note 4 or the MI4.
Oh yeah, if you go back to MIUI 5, 6, 7, I think those were really nice.
It was nice, but then the other part was that it was really buggy back then.
Right.
It
Yeah,
wasn't
that was
optimized.
there.
And the work they've done now, I
True.
mean, if you can run the MIUI, they run the MIUI on the Redmi 4, the Redmi 4A, or the lowest
True.
end of the Xiaomi lineup.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a really good thing by Xiaomi. I mean, not a lot of companies, identify their mistakes and
Right.
fix it as quickly as possible. And that's one of the main reasons why MI is on the top right now because they're quick in
Mm,
identifying their mistakes. Although there've been a lot of issues. I mean, the ad thing is a really huge issue.
yeah.
Hopefully they fix it soon. Or
I
have they fixed
mean,
it soon? I'm not really.
no. So the thing is, there was a point wherein, users used to flash MIUI on their devices, on their non-Xiaomi devices. But now it's like people are looking for ROMs other than MIUI to flash on their Xiaomi devices. So I think that transition is what says a lot about how good MIUI used to be in terms of, the looks and the features. And of course, it still retains a lot of that. But again, you do get that extra bloat factor and all that. I mean, I think Swapnil and I both had the OnePlus 3, which was, I think, arguably one of the best devices we've owned. Uh,
Yeah.
if Swapnil remembers, I
That
once
is
turned up
true.
in college with MIUI on my OnePlus 3 because I really liked
Yeah.
the UI back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that used to be really nice. Anyway, speaking about those phones, uh, what are your current phones and why did you buy that particular phone, and are you happy or are you looking to change or switch anytime soon? So let's start with Swapnil.
Yeah, so currently I'm using the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 as my primary phone and the LG G7 ThinQ as my secondary phone. Well, I got the Note.
Swapnil is rich,
Yeah.
so this is just a disclaimer.
No, nothing as such. So, yeah, I basically got the Note 9 because I've always loved notes. I actually fell in love with notes when the Note 2 launched. I think something similar happened with you, right, Savak?
Yeah. And I mean, the Note 2 was, I don't know what to say about it. It was a dream phone for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, back then I couldn't afford it, so my second phone was the S3. So instead of the Note 2, but they were kind of similar, right? Yeah.
Right.
So getting back to the Note 9, it's a good phone, right? I wanted a Note. I've always wanted a Note. I had been using the Galaxy S8 before this,
Mm-hmm.
and the software experience was actually quite good on the S8.
I'm
And
sorry to cut you off again. Something that is very similar between me and Swapnil is both of us use the OnePlus 3, the Galaxy S8, and the Galaxy Note 9 as well.
yeah,
So I can vouch for everything that Swapnil says. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's unfair because
almost. Yeah,
I mean, you've
definitely.
used every smartphone that's come out since the last 3 years. So I don't think that's a fair, coincidence. You can't call it a coincidence.
It's an interest in it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Carry
like
on.
personal
Carry on.
phones. I
Obviously.
think you bought these phones,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
These three. Yeah.
Right.
So even on the Note 9, the software experience is actually really good. I really like it. Like it's probably, I think even like YouTubers from the USA, everyone actually really love the Note 9. Especially they can love it because they have the Snapdragon variant there.
Exactly.
The only thing,
Exactly.
the one and the only problem with the Indian variant of the Note 9 is the processor.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Samsung still is very hell-bent on retaining the Exynos chips on their current gen Samsung flagships as well.
Yeah. Everything else on the Note 9 is just perfect. The screen is brilliant. The camera is amazing. The build quality is amazing. The S Pen is, of course, amazing. Everything, it just works and everything is good. But
I think
because of the
even
processor,
while I think even while when you're referring to the processor, I don't think the performance is bad at all, right? Performance is still equally good.
performance is still quite good, yeah.
The only
It is
issue
able to
creeps
handle
in,
everything.
right? The
But
only
the
issue that
battery
creeps
life,
in, exactly, yeah.
I charge on the days when I used to go to office, I charged my phone, I think about 2.5 times a day. 2.5 times a day.
And this is given that the phone has a 4000 milliamp hour battery.
Ampere
which is
battery, yeah.
no way small by any means. I mean,
And I'm
given
using my
that,
phone
Mhm.
on full HD as well, not on QHD. So
and it has a 60 hertz display, not even high
Display.
refresh rate.
yeah,
So I can vouch for this, given that I had been using the Galaxy Note 10 Plus for a long time, and that also has an Exynos chip, and it has a 4500 milliamp hour battery. But when I'm using the iPhone SE right now, the iPhone SE 2020, which has an 1800 milliamp hour battery, which is a lot lower than half of what the Note 10 Plus has. But I am actually getting better screen on time on the iPhone SE when compared to the Note 10 Plus, which is so funny. I mean, it's just crazy how.
That's why you paid 40,000 for
Keeping
a
the price
budget
point
Apple
aside, because the
phone.
Note 10 Plus isn't cheap either, right? That was launched for about 70,000 as well.
Yeah,
But that just goes to
obviously,
show
yeah.
how important optimization is with regards to the battery life, and it's not just the capacity that always matters. Right? Yeah, that's just.
Yeah, that is.
well, I remember.
That is very true in the
I
case
remember
of you.
MKBHD and I remember watching
Eleven.
MKBHD and Linus's video on this on the Note 9. Both of them actually say that this is the only $1,000 phone that's actually worth it.
Yeah, I think even Michael Fisher. I think the title of Michael Fisher's video was the only $1,000 phone that you should buy, something along those lines.
It's almost perfect. Almost perfect.
Right. So, what about your LG G7? How do you think of LG as a smartphone brand in 2020? Would you recommend it to someone looking for a flagship right now?
Well, even if I recommend, that person won't buy an LG phone. That's the problem.
So I'm just curious. Just curious. How much did you pay for the LG G7?
Okay, it's a funny story. I think I should. So I actually paid 30,000 for my phone, for this LG phone. Okay, but the thing is, I was supposed to pay 24,000. So I had the Redmi Note 3.
I remember. Yeah. I think it's a nice way to expose Flipkart scam.
Yeah. So I had the Redmi Note 3, and according to me, like when I look at the phone, I don't think there are any issues with it. Even if I give you the phone in hand, you won't find any issues with the phone. So I thought, why not replace it and get some discount on the LG G7? I thought it's a nice one. Let's check it out. So it
Right.
was 30,000, and they were giving, I think, 2,000 or 3,000 for the Note 3 and 3,000 extra exchange value or something.
Right. Right.
So it was supposed to be 24,000.
Yeah. So if you're
Then the
getting
Flip
6,000 on the Note 3, which I think you paid around 10,000 for, it was a great deal. Yeah.
deal, yeah.
Yeah.
And especially so many years later, right?
Right. Exactly.
4 or 5 years later or something. So
Right.
when the Flipkart guy came, he like just pressed on the screen on one side and he said there's some issue and he can't accept the phone.
Mm.
So I was in a bit of a situation actually. Like I thought, okay, I was prepared for 24,000. Now this is 30,000,
Right.
and I still have the Note 3. So I thought I would get rid of it, but I didn't. That's how I ended up with the
Yeah.
LG G7 at
Hmm.
30,000.
So
Overall,
given that, yeah, go ahead.
Overall, it's actually a good phone. Like it's really, really good. It's very underrated.
Right. But given that you had a budget of 30,000, or let's say you were getting a flagship, the G7 has what, an SD 845?
Yeah, 845.
Okay, so given that you had much cheaper options of a Snapdragon 845, let's say like the Poco F1,
Yeah.
why did you specifically decide to spend more on an LG G7 rather than getting a Poco F1 for like half the price, and with the other half you could have probably bought some other tech or anything.
Yeah, I think at that time Poco was going for 18,999 or something, 17,999, something like that.
Right.
Yeah, so I was getting it for 24. I thought it would be 24, right? So 24 and 18, not much of a
Yeah,
big difference.
then it makes sense. Right.
Yeah.
Then it makes sense. Yeah.
And also, I had previously used the Nexus 5X, also from LG, and I
LG,
was
got
very
it.
impressed.
Oh yeah, the cameras especially were brilliant on the 5X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, what about you, Supreet? What is your daily driver and why?
So it's a very funny choice. I don't know if a lot of people, I don't know, they might find it weird, but I use the Nokia 6.1.
By the way, that was
the
my
2018
first phone that I
Well,
reviewed
I mean,
when I joined Tech PP.
yeah, I do remember that. So this was because look, I'm all in for stock Android, and at the time I bought it for around 8,999. At this price point, I don't think a lot of Android One options are available. No, I really wanted the stock Android experience with all the updates. I know that's a very peculiar choice, but it's a good phone. I mean, the Android 10 update it did end up coming into the phone, and you get the regular security updates as well. Other than that, I mean, it's built really well. The display is really good. It does everything well.
I don't think you need to mention
all
that
I want.
a Nokia phone is built well. That goes without saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
that.
But what do you think
Yeah,
of
I mean,
those
the unibody
bezels
it's
on the top and the bottom?
like for me, I've never been this person who really wants a full screen. And I don't think that's my priority in a phone. Because look, I mean, for me, a smartphone has always been more of a utility, rather than a vanity. I don't want a phone that looks good or that looks flashy or something that's full of screen. I mean, that's full of a screen. There's so much effort that's being made to hide the front camera. I mean, I don't think that's worth it. And I really like the bezels, because obviously, I mean, it's just occupying useless space. I can't say I like it, but I don't think I have an issue with it, because I mean, the 16:9 ratio is still better for media consumption. I did end up using P5, which had the 18:9 aspect ratio, and I know that was a big deal, when you were streaming a lot of stuff.
Fair enough.
It's a good.
I
don't have any issue.
I'm using the iPhone SE right now, even that has a 16:9 display with those, huge bottom and top. And I see people commenting on our videos as well, and even on Twitter saying, "Oh, why is it's such a shitty design? It's so outdated. It feels like you've gone back to 2010." All those comments.
But it's down.
Right.
It all comes down to the individual preference. I mean, if you're looking for the internals as your priority, if you want a good phone that performs well, takes good pictures, gives you a good battery life. I mean,
Right.
you wouldn't want something that's really fancy. Or if you're one
Hmm.
of those people, okay, I want to experience the latest tech. I want my phone to look good. I'm bored of
Right.
the 16:9 ratio, the
Hmm.
thick bezels. Fair enough, man. I mean,
Hmm.
you can end up buying one. There are plenty of options in various budget ranges.
Makes sense.
I mean, it all comes down to your individual preferences. You either have a
Right.
problem with it or you
So,
like.
Swapnil, would
Yeah.
you use a 16:9 device in 2020 with thick bezel? So, for example, if you had an option to use the iPhone SE, if you had the option to switch to something like the iPhone SE from your Galaxy Note 9, would you do it?
Well,
Keeping all
yeah,
the iOS and all those arguments aside,
yeah. I
yeah,
actually love iOS. I've been using iOS as well, right?
right.
Yeah. So
Would you be
uh,
open to using a 16:9 device with thick bezels?
yeah, 16:9 is fine for me, but I think the 4.7-inch display is a bit smaller for me. Maybe the SE Plus, which is also
Mm-hmm.
rumored, maybe something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Something with a
Right.
5.5-inch display. Yeah, but I
Hmm.
won't have a problem with it.
So I think it's justified to say that the bezel-less hype that all brands are going for. I think it's very subjective. I mean, if you're fine with bezels, then there's absolutely nothing wrong in getting a phone with bezels even in 2020. And having said that, I mean, we all know Apple is going to sell the SE like hotcakes, right? People are going to buy it regardless of the fact that it has thick bezels or the design is outdated.
Yeah, yeah. Because that's because
Hmm.
most Apple users, I mean, I can't say Apple users because most
Yeah.
people just want an iPhone for the Apple logo,
Yeah.
and they can use an iPhone because I've
Yeah.
seen people buy an iPhone 6, 5S in a time where
Yeah.
for the
Totally.
same money you can get a good OnePlus phone or just get a good MI phone. So, and the other set of people are the ones who really want a good
Yeah,
iOS
totally
experience. They
makes
can't
sense.
afford to pay that much for a flagship phone. But then, considering the price point it's being sold in India, I think you'd be better off adding a couple more
Yeah,
$1,000
I
and buying
think
the
that is
iPhone
also a
10R.
fair
Because
argument.
if you're hell bent on buying, you know what, I want a smaller
Yeah.
phone, I want an iOS. If you're very specific in those terms, or maybe you're looking for a long
Hmm.
time, for Apple to release a
I
smaller
think.
iPhone with good specs, maybe you can buy the iPhone.
Hmm.
But then if you wanted just the iPhone experience,
I
you
think
can go with the 10. I think
someone who is
that's a far
getting the
better
iPhone
choice.
SE should be very aware of what they're getting themselves into. It is a
Yeah,
small phone. It is not for
totally.
everyone. The display is actually really small. If you have used any phone in the recent past, you need some getting used to it. But again, it's for that very niche segment who really wants a small phone. Yeah, who really wants a small
Very
phone or really wants an iPhone.
and a smaller.
Yeah, for people who are still using like the iPhone 5s or the original SE or the iPhone 6, 6s, and they want to stick to that same form factor because they're used to it for so many years. I think the SE 2020 is a perfect upgrade for such individuals.
Or even if you want the latest specifications on a low budget.
I don't think it would be wrong to say that the SE 2020 is probably the best performing phone out there right now, even better than the 11 Pros and the 11 Pro Max because it's pushing such a small low-res display. I think, that
there were certain rumors, right? As in, it was a little underclocked or something compared to the 11 Pros.
Right. I think if you run an Antutu score, you get a lower score on the SE when compared to the 11s. Yeah. I don't know what Apple does. I mean, they never reveal such technical details, right? Yeah. So that's one thing. So let's wrap up with a final thoughts of all of you on what do you think, or rather than what do you think, what do you want to see in upcoming smartphones in the later part of 2020 or early part of 2021? What do you think are the new technologies that you are waiting for? Need not be restricted to just smartphones. Just in general, what kind of tech do you want to see? Supreet?
First one, I think it's obvious that we've all been waiting for the 5G developments in India. I'm not really sure about how far it's being developed. But 5G next year is something that all of us, it would be fantastic for all of us to experience. Other than that, I think, you can't really say anything about the smartphone industry because it's just so versatile
Right.
and it's just changing every day. You never know what's coming next. And this in this kind of a time, you can't complain about
Right.
I don't have this. Well, if you don't have this, there's another phone doing that. There's a lot of options from different companies. So I don't think this is a time when I'm not
I
getting.
mean,
You can
if you
just
buy
go
a
on and
phone
complain.
today,
You know what? I'm not
it's
getting
already outdated by
smartphone.
tomorrow.
Yeah, and more than that, there's just plenty of options. I mean, if you want this, if you want that, you can buy some. There's a lot of applications, so you can complain
Right.
about because there's thousands of
I
budget
think
phones being
at the
sold
end of the
today by
day,
MI,
the
Realme,
consumer is the winner
Movie,
because
Vodafone.
he's getting so many options to choose from depending on your priorities.
And that's a result of the competition because I don't think Realme would be this
And I think it
successful
was
if
the
not
other
for
way
the
around
competition
also.
they had from MI.
I feel if Realme did not come into the picture,
obviously.
Xiaomi would have had a monopoly, right? And they would do whatever they want.
And this is like this is the first time in the Indian smartphone scene that there's a tight competition between budget smartphone offering. Back then it was just like if it was good,
the
you had
biggest
no
takeaway
choice.
from this is because of Xiaomi and Realme, even Samsung has started to make value for money smartphones. The M series and the A series are actually not pretty bad. I mean, if you want a tier 1 smartphone, I think that is one of the best things that has happened.
Yeah. The competition that's developed smartphones to this kind of.
What do you think, Swapnil? What are you waiting for in the future in terms of tech?
I'm waiting for the Snapdragon 865 in the upcoming Galaxy S phone.
I don't think that's going to happen unless the Fold 2 makes its way to India.
Yeah. Like, I actually really want a Snapdragon phone in India, or a Snapdragon Samsung phone in India. I'll just do, it would be the perfect smartphone.
True, I agree. There are some rumors though that Samsung might adopt AMD GPUs in the future or something like that. So they might in fact have some gains through that. Also, if I'm not wrong, I think Samsung will not be producing its own CPU cores anymore. So I think the Mongoose cores or certain cores that Samsung is using, I think they will have to come back to the A76 or like the architecture that Qualcomm has in place.
The gold and the silver core, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So if that happens, then it's nice. But other than seeing Samsung phones with Snapdragon or Qualcomm chips, what do you think is the next big thing in tech coming up in a few years? Don't say 5G,
well, I
please.
think it's... Yeah, of course I will. Well, I think it has already started. I feel all these companies are now pushing battery life as one of their main aspects of their phones. Battery life in terms of fast charging, we are now seeing 65 watt fast charging, which is something which is unheard of, right?
Right.
So I think
a few years wireless,
back, even OnePlus and Xiaomi are bringing it now, right? 30 watts.
Yeah, that's right.
I think one of the first companies to actually have pioneered this fast charging space would be OnePlus. They started with the OnePlus 3, right? The Dash Charge. No, I think it was called as Dash Charge back then, right?
Yep, it was Dash Charge back then, yes.
With 20 watts. I used the OnePlus 3 when you used... We know how different it was. Like, as soon as you plug it, you just roam around for 10 minutes, you come back and...
It was game-changing. Dash Charge was amazing.
Yeah. I'm really excited for this battery life change which we are seeing. And as well as with the fast charging, I would like to see bigger and better battery on smartphones. That's something which I'm looking forward to.
I think that is something that a lot of manufacturers are pushing due to the 5G race which is there. So it's a known fact that 5G consumes more battery than LTE, right? So big battery comes as a byproduct of including 5G on your phones, which at the end of the day is good for the consumer, because at least as of now, I don't think I think you can, countable number of people are using 5G. So for those who are still on LTE, uh, I think having, like, 4,500 or a 5,000 lamp hour battery on a flagship is a really nice thing, because we've always been seeing big batteries on budget and mid-range phones, right? I mean, on flagships it has always been 3,000, 3,300, 3,500. But now, because of this entire surge, even flagships are getting huge batteries, and that's a really nice thing.
Well, you basically mentioned Note 5, Note 7, Note 8 batteries. Right, 3033, I think. That's how it was.
Yeah. Oh man, the Note 7 was. Oh, let's leave that for another day. And let's wrap up this podcast. Thank you so much for joining, Supreet and Swapnil.
Yeah,
Let's
thank you, Swapnil.
consistently do this
Yeah, thank you.
on a regular basis, and this is going to be covering
Yeah.
not just tech. We are going to venture out into, food. All of us are foodies here. Uh, Having been being really close friends with both Supreet and Swapnil, I know how big of foodies they are, including me. So we'll venture into food and maybe,
All of us are.
just the general YouTube scenario and Bollywood and music and whatnot. It's just gonna be, just fun talking, and I'm pretty sure all of you would really be interested in it. Do let us know your views in the comments below and any suggestions for future podcasts. And if you liked what you just heard, make sure you hit the thumbs up and also subscribe for more such amazing content. Thank you so much, guys. Oh yeah, of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Hit the bell
The
icon.
links to
PP.
all our Twitter handles and Swapnil's YouTube channel and the TechPP YouTube channel, as well as the website, will be in the description down below. And well, yeah, that's been it. Thank you so much, guys. And we'll catch up soon.